Hi, I'm Nicole Crowley, and this is Science is Appealing. Every week we illustrate a different branch of science, and this week is endocrinology, and we're going to do a special emphasis on diabetes. Reporter Lisa O'Keefe will give us a report on this field, but first, with more on endocrine system and how blood sugars are regulated, is Dr. Chris Robbins.
The endocrine system is a signaling system that works in conjunction with the nervous system to control and regulate the body. In contrast to the nervous system, which uses electrical signals to affect this, the endocrine system communicates using chemical signals called hormones. These hormones are used to control growth and development, metabolism, reproductive processes, and even affect our mood. Hormones are produced by the endocrine glands and enter into the bloodstream where they circulate around the body. They are keyed to specific tissues, and when recognized, they signal the tissue to perform a task. In contrast with the rapid and brief nature of nervous impulses, endocrine signals are relatively slow and act for prolonged periods. As an example of how part of the endocrine system works, consider the pancreas. In addition to aiding digestion, the pancreas also serves an endocrine function which regulates blood sugar levels. High blood sugar causes the pancreas to release the hormone insulin into the blood. When this reaches the liver, it signals the liver to convert sugar into glycogen for storage. This reduces the blood sugar levels, which reduces the stimulus to the pancreas to produce insulin, and insulin levels fall. This slows down conversion in the liver and eventually stops it altogether when optimal levels have been achieved. When blood sugar levels fall, the pancreas releases another hormone called glycogen, which stimulates the liver to convert glycogen back into sugar and again restore the optimal blood sugar level. When this system goes wrong, the body develops diabetes and becomes unable to regulate blood sugar. There are two types of diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, the body can no longer produce insulin, and regular insulin injections are required to signal the liver to convert and store blood sugar. In type 2 diabetes, the pancreas can still produce insulin, but the liver is no longer sensitive to it, and so does not respond to the hormone signal. In some cases, type 2 diabetes can be controlled by diet, exercise, and medication, but in other cases, insulin injections are required.
Right now, there's a shortage of endocrinologists. In fact, the American Association of Clinical Endocrinologists state that by 2020, there'll be 35% fewer endocrinologists than what is needed to adequately reflect this field.
This shortage is alarming when one considers that diabetes and other conditions such as obesity are at increasing levels. Consider for a minute that 1 in every 12 people has diabetes. This means that someone you work with, go to school with, or are friends with may have diabetes. It means that diabetes is a disease that famous people live with, such as actresses Halle Berry and Mary Tyler Moore, athletes Sean Busby and Walt Frazier, government notables such as Sonia Sotomayor, and singers such as Aretha Franklin and Bret Michaels. And diabetes is a disease that everyday people like you and me live with. Diabetes doesn't discriminate. It affects men, women, and children of all demographics. Again, 1 in 12 people has diabetes. This statistic alone justifies the field of endocrinology as a vital and rewarding field that is in great demand for the foreseeable future. It is because of the importance of this field that Science is Appealing has dedicated a show to endocrinology with an emphasis on diabetes. To that end, today I enlisted the knowledge and expertise of 3 leaders in the field. The first expert is the Special Events Assistant for the Long Island chapter of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation.
I have type 1 diabetes myself for about 21 years now.
Joining the panel of experts is the Outreach Coordinator for the Long Island chapter of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation.
The Long Island chapter has many monthly programs that encourage you to network with other people living with type 1.
And we are honored to have with us the Associate Professor of Periodontology and Implantology at SUNY Stony Brook School of Dental Medicine.
For the first time, we're going to be able to answer that question whether periodontal therapy or non-surgical periodontal disease intervention can help improve the blood sugar control of people with type 2 diabetes.
Many people have heard of the organization Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, but may think it only applies to children, but that's only part of its mission statement.
The mission of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation is to find a cure for type 1 diabetes and its complications through the support of research. And over 80% of all the money we raise goes directly towards that research.
That's right, the JDRF is a leading funder of type 1 diabetes research to find a cure. And until a cure is found, it is vital that those with type 1 diabetes and their families learn more about the disease, advancements in diabetic research, and have an outlet for discussion through the JDRF Outreach Program.
The Long Island chapter of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation has many support programs for anyone living with type 1. We have programs for teens, children, adults, as well as siblings, parents, and we have an educational seminar that offers lots of information. We invite all families across Long Island to attend to gather information to live well with type 1 diabetes. The outreach program enhances JDRF's mission by offering support, resource, and tools to help those living with type 1. We also provide lots of information about prevention, treatment, and how to live well with type 1 diabetes.
It is also important to remember that right now there is no cure for this autoimmune system disease.
Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease where the body attacks the beta cells inside the pancreas. And beta cells are responsible for producing insulin. Insulin is a hormone that the body needs in order to break down food that people eat and convert it to energy that the body's cells can use to survive.
Some of the myths or misinformation regarding type 1 diabetes include: diabetes is cured with insulin. This is false. Insulin injections through a syringe or the pump, for example, are used to control a person's blood sugar when their own body is unable to. They are not a cure, nor do they prevent the possibility of any medical conditions from occurring in conjunction with diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is not a lifetime disease. This is false. Once a person is a type 1 diabetic, they are dependent on injected or pumped insulin for their entire life, or until a cure is found. Diabetics do not have to monitor their sugar levels on a daily basis. This is false. Type 1 diabetics require continual monitoring of one's blood sugar levels, insulin levels, and possible health complications. My child can't have diabetes. My child's athletic and way too young. This is false. Diabetes can strike anyone of any age or any lifestyle. Even children as young as 1 have been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Now that you know some of the common myths surrounding diabetes, it's important to understand some of the facts as compiled by the National Institute for Health. The advances in diabetic research have enabled those with diabetes to take better control of their sugar levels and to live longer and more productive lives.
I have type 1 diabetes myself for about 21 years now, and a typical day for me involves testing my blood sugar as soon as I wake up, and every time before I eat, before I go to bed, I have to do a blood test. Some people call them finger sticks, but a blood test. Someone with type 1 diabetes can use an insulin pump or insulin injections in order to get the insulin that they need to survive. So I personally am on an insulin pump, so every day I use my pump to give myself insulin every time I eat. When I need to adjust my blood sugars and bring them down, I just press a few buttons on the pump and I get insulin that way. You can also get insulin through injections, which are daily shots, usually multiple times a day, that children and adults with type 1 diabetes have to use in order to maintain their blood sugar levels. Growing up as a child with diabetes, it was hard for me at first to be able to talk about it openly, especially because I was so young. I was diagnosed when I was 3, and by the time I reached kindergarten, I was only 5. But, I had to be responsible enough for myself to tell my teachers and my classmates when I wasn't feeling well, or if I had to go down to the nurse. So I think that, now in this day and age, the insulin pumps and the blood glucose meters that they have out there are, much more advanced than when I was first diagnosed, and that makes controlling type 1 diabetes a lot easier. And also, in addition to controlling it with the technology, the support system that you get from your family and your friends and things like the outreach program here at JDRF all help you to live a better life with type 1 diabetes. Living with the disease for 21 years, I know how my body feels and usually how I react to certain things. So I'll know right away if I feel like I'm dropping a little bit or going too high, and I'll be able to treat it accordingly with my pump, or I'll have a snack. Dealing with type 1 diabetes on a daily basis does require a little bit of extra attention that you have to give yourself, because only you know how you feel as a type 1. You know when your sugar is going high or low. You do have symptoms. But dealing with it on a day-to-day basis is simple if you have the right tools. If you have the great support system of your family and your friends, and as I do here at JDRF, my coworkers as well. With all the technological advances that they've had since I've been diagnosed, it definitely makes living with diabetes much easier on a day-to-day basis, and it's almost as if I never think about it. So, in a good way.
These advancements in research and technologies for type 1 diabetes is possible in part because of the fundraising efforts of the JDRF.
Here at the Long Island chapter of JDRF, we have a bunch of different events throughout the year, all for fundraising towards research for type 1 diabetes. We have an annual spring gala, which is a black tie event. This past year we had it at Oheka Castle. It was a great evening of dinner and dancing, and we always have a silent and live auction. And all the money we raise there goes directly to research. We also have a golf outing every year. This year and next year, it's at Fresh Meadow Country Club in Great Neck. And we also do a ride to cure diabetes, where here in the Long Island chapter we'll help you fundraise and get you going to do the ride. The rides are not actually held in New York, they're all over the country, but you can choose which ride you want to do. And again, all the money you fundraise goes directly to research. And our biggest event we have at the Long Island chapter are our walks to cure diabetes. We have 3 walks in Long Island, one at SUNY College at Old Westbury, which will be on Sunday, October 2nd, one at Heckscher State Park in East Islip, which is Sunday, October 16th, and we also have one out in Suffolk Community College at Riverhead on Sunday, October 23rd. So we have all 3 walks. You can register for the walks online at walk.jdrf.org, and we'd love to have you there. We have families that come back every year. We have new families there, and all of our staff will be there, and it's a great way. That's our biggest fundraiser. Last year, the walks alone raised over $1.6 million directly for research, so it was a great way to get some money for the type 1 diabetics out there. Symptoms of type 1 diabetes include frequent thirst and urination, sudden weight loss, and extreme hunger and fatigue, as well as just feeling sick in general, just not feeling well to go out and do things, being very tired, being very cranky and irritable. Those are all symptoms of type 1 diabetes, whether it's in a child or an adult.
The educational seminar, which takes place in the spring of every year, is held at the Melville Marriott, and it's scheduled for March 3rd, 2012, this upcoming year. We have many of the diabetes-related representatives come and share all the latest technology. We have workshops. It's a half-day event, and it's filled with lots of information, again, to help you live well with diabetes until we find a cure. We at the Long Island chapter and JDRF chapters nationwide are happy to assist anyone who needs information. We'd love to get you involved and connect you with other families who live with type 1. So please just call our chapter and speak to any of the staff. We'd be happy to help you in any way that we can. The Long Island chapter has many monthly programs that encourage you to network with other people living with type 1. On a monthly Friday evening, we meet with the type 1 adults right here in the meeting center at the Long Island chapter. We meet with the teens who are living with type 1 diabetes at the Play and Trade in Plainview. The gentleman who owns that store, Michael, he is generous enough. He does not have a connection to type 1 and opens up his store to any teens living with type 1 to come chat with each other, network, and of course play games. We also have a youth ambassador program that meets throughout the year, again, to connect younger children with type 1 diabetes. They act as advocates of the chapter and represent us at corporate kickoffs, galas, Fund a Cure programs, any ways that we can get kids connected. That program is for them.
With all this said, type 1 diabetes is not the only type that can affect an individual. There is also type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is the most common form of diabetes affecting people. Type 2 diabetics can produce insulin, but their body either can't produce enough of it or can't use it sufficiently. Although older people and those who are obese may be at risk for type 2 diabetes, anyone can get it, and it has some of the same symptoms and possible complications as those associated with type 1. And some of the complications from type 2 diabetes include kidney damage, poor circulation, problems with the eyes, and nerve damage. And now, thanks to the research being done at SUNY Stony Brook, there may be a link between type 2 diabetes and gum disease.
People with diabetes are much more likely to have periodontitis. Periodontitis is a destructive disease of the teeth. It's an infection, and we think currently that periodontitis can also influence the way and the course of your diabetes. So we're talking about a study that we're performing here at Stony Brook that will intervene on the periodontitis and hopefully improve the outcomes of the diabetes. In the United States, the periodontal diseases are a group of disorders of the gums. The most common is gingivitis. Gingivitis is redness and swelling of the gums, and you'll notice sometimes bleeding when you brush. Gingivitis is completely reversible and curable condition of the gums that can be treated at the dental office by a dental hygienist. Periodontitis, on the other hand, is a destructive, irreversible disease of the gums and the bone surrounding the teeth. So that once periodontitis initiates, the bone and structure around the teeth is lost. People with diabetes are 2 to 4 times more likely to have periodontitis. So that when we have an individual with diabetes, they're much more likely to have periodontitis. Right, periodontal treatment is relatively straightforward in that periodontitis is caused by bacteria, the bacteria that collect around the teeth. If they're removed effectively on a day-to-day basis, the gums and the mouth can remain healthy. However, that's difficult for most people. And when the bacteria are allowed to accumulate to a certain level, then harmful bacteria begin to grow underneath the gum line. We call that and forms periodontal pockets. Periodontal pockets are a problem because they harbor the bacteria that cause periodontitis. So that the treatments for periodontitis involve removing the bacterial film from around the teeth. And this is done in the dental office with dental instruments called scalers and curettes, and sometimes with ultrasonic instruments that disrupt that bacterial film around the teeth and allow the gums to heal. This is a very exciting opportunity for us for conducting a national study. It's funded by the National Institutes of Health. The National Institute of Dental and Craniofacial Research is sponsoring this phase 3 clinical trial, to test whether periodontal therapy or a non-surgical periodontal disease intervention is effective at reducing the blood sugar of people with type 2 diabetes. Numerous small studies have shown that this is possible, but until now, a large representative study or clinical trial has not been carried out in any country. So for the first time, we're going to be able to answer that question whether periodontal therapy or non-surgical periodontal disease intervention can help improve the blood sugar control of people with type 2 diabetes. So we are actively recruiting for this clinical trial here in Suffolk County at the University Hospital at Stony Brook and also the School of Dental Medicine at Stony Brook University. We're also visiting clinics in the community, Suffolk County community clinics, where people with diabetes receive their treatment and care. We're going there with representatives and leaflets and seeking volunteers for the study. So we are actively recruiting for about another year. The other centers in the country are at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis, the University of Texas in San Antonio, and the University of Alabama at Birmingham. We'll soon be adding a new center in the University of Texas at Houston. To be eligible for the clinical trial, you have to have type 2 diabetes, you have to be over the age of 35, and you have to have a diagnosis of periodontitis. And periodontitis can be mild, moderate, or advanced, depending on the stage of the illness. And for this study, it requires a moderate or advanced periodontitis. There are other minor inclusion-exclusion criteria, but generally a volunteer has to be healthy enough to come to the dental clinic for study visits. And you can't have had periodontal therapy within the last 6 months. Additionally, people who take antibiotics regularly or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs regularly are not allowed to participate. The trial lasts for 6 months, and there are 3 major visits: the baseline visit, the 3-month visit, and the 6-month visit. At each visit, a periodontal examination is performed, and a blood test is taken. After the baseline visit, the periodontal therapy or the intervention of the study is administered. This is called scaling and root planing and takes place over 2 about 90-minute sessions. At the 3-month visit, the participant receives a cleaning, and at the 6-month visit also an examination and cleaning. Those who are randomized to the delayed treatment group receive these treatments after the 6-month period. The participant benefits or may benefit in certain aspects from the periodontal therapy. This is offered at no cost and generally results in improved health in the oral cavity, the mouth, and the teeth. Further treatment may be required in the most advanced cases, but for many, this is an adequate treatment. Also, the benefits to a participant is a complete dental evaluation, dental screening, and blood tests, or results of blood tests can be offered to the patient. We have a telephone number to call. We have people here at Stony Brook will take the call, ask a few questions to find out if someone is generally eligible to be in the study or to answer more questions about the study. And the phone number for the study is 631-632-3964.
I'm Nicole Crowley, and remember, science is appealing.